Hey everyone, Merry Christmas. It's Steve here from My Crypto World. Today, as I promised last week, we're going to be doing a full portfolio review right after this. Well, it's been a very interesting 12 to 18 months. In fact, you could almost say 2 years really, as the world has struggled to cope with COVID, and crypto really has sort of finding its niche and its pathway into everyday people's homes around the world. So as I said, today really is a portfolio review on where things have gone for the last 12 to 18 months. We're going to look at each stock individually and just see when we offered that to the portfolio group, when we started talking about it, when we suggested that it may be a good time to buy, and where the coin has gone from there. So these are in no particular order, but before I do commence, I also want to talk about the portfolio setup. It's probably one of the biggest questions I get asked is, how do I actually invest and divide up my income or my investments or my capital to invest into the crypto market? And the truth is, most of the time it's pretty even. I don't always invest the same amount per coin. It just depends on the project and what I think the risk profile is of that. But the majority of the time it's an even amount. So for example, the first four coins I got into, other than Bitcoin, the alternate coins was Theta, Cardano, Chainlink, and XRP. And all of those coins I invested an even amount of money into when I first commenced investing. Now, over the last 2 years, they are very different sizes in my portfolio now, not because I've changed anything or sold more or bought more or anything like that. It's just simply the way the coin has developed. Some have moved faster than others, and others obviously have moved slow, and some maybe not even at all. So as the portfolio develops, it's now a larger proportion or a smaller proportion of my portfolio based on the initial capital that I put in. But we'll go through that as we work through this list. So this is in no particular order. Got to make sure I've got everything here. And we'll just kick it off. So number one on the list, again, no particular order, is Cardano, which is ADA for the kicker. Now I started recommending that to the group back in July 2020. And there have been a few dips along the way that I've bought more into. And for those that have seen my history of my videos on YouTube, and even before it was YouTube, it was a private group that I had on Facebook. You would know that I've been in and out of, not in and out, I haven't sold any of my Cardano, but I have bought along the way through each dip that's happened in the marketplace. But initially, we bought that in July 2020. At the moment, Cardano makes up 15.7% of my portfolio. Now, it's really important, as I'm giving you the percentages of my portfolio, you don't have to go out and copy this. In fact, it's almost pointless, because the portfolio would change over time. In the next 6 months, Cardano may very well make up 20% of my portfolio, or possibly 10% of my portfolio, depending on how high or low that particular coin trades to. So this varies along the way. I'm not somebody who really rejuggles their portfolio. If something takes off and something else doesn't, as long as I have faith in the value of the company that the coin is backing, I'm very happy to hold and make sure and see how that investment works out. So Cardano, 15.7% of my total portfolio, and that has risen an incredible 1,071% since I started suggesting. And again, these are just suggestions. These are not financial advice, but my personal preferences of what I think the market's going to do since we suggested people look at Cardano. The next one is Bitcoin Cash. That makes up 2.6% of my portfolio. I really thought Bitcoin Cash would have done a lot better this year in 2021, but it is what it is. Now, we started recommending Bitcoin Cash back in July 2020, and since then it's grown by 54%. So very different to Cardano. It hasn't had the growth that I thought it would. It doesn't mean that it's not going to. I'm absolutely a holder of Bitcoin Cash, and will continue to hold because I know that the project itself has got a great future ahead of it. But it just hasn't taken off this year as I thought it might have. But still, a 54% return over a 2-year period is still very good investment returns. Next one on the list is Bitcoin. That makes up 4% of my total portfolio, and that has risen 522% since I first purchased that. Now, Bitcoin was my first purchase. For those that know me, I'm usually dabbling in stocks rather than in cryptocurrency. It took me a good year of research before I decided to dip my toe in the cryptocurrency universe. Bitcoin obviously was the first one that I had purchased. But since that time, it's moved up 522%. So again, not a bad return for your investment over about a 2-year period. Digibyte's next. Digibyte is up 61% since we recommended that back in May 2020, and it is 3.2% of my portfolio. Now, just on Digibyte, I do get questions about it from time to time. It seems to be this great coin with a great project backing, a great thought philosophy on how they want to develop and help other cryptocurrencies work in the blockchain network. They just hasn't really been recognized yet. Again, I don't think it's a project that's going to disappear. I think they've got an incredible future ahead of them. So for me, it definitely is a hold strategy. In fact, all these coins, if we're going through them and you feel that some of them have gone sideways or just haven't done much, for me, they're absolutely 100% a hold, because I know that the project that's backing them is solid. So as I said, Digibyte up 61% since we first recommended it, 3.2% of the portfolio. Polkadot's the next one. That's moved up an impressive 663% since we first recommended that back in around about August last year, and it makes up 4.4% of my total portfolio. Holo Chain, the kicker for that is HOT. That makes up 6.2% of my portfolio. Now, this is a good example of when things go well, they go really well. So Holo initially, that made up 0.1% of my portfolio. So it was a real outside chance that I thought Holo might have to make some ground. It's now at 6.2%, not because I've done anything different or invested more into it. The project's just really taken off, and it's one of my best performing coins so far. At the moment, we first recommended that back in May 2020. At the moment, it's got an impressive 2,338% return. So that has gone incredibly well, and I believe will continue to do so in the future. Chainlink is the next one on the list. So that is 2.7% of my portfolio. And just as an example here, Chainlink was at one stage my number one holding. I haven't taken any money out of the market. I still own all the original Chainlink that I purchased. It just hasn't moved as other coins have, and now only makes up 2.7% of my portfolio. I think this could change. Chainlink could easily make up 27% of my portfolio if we get a move that's quite strong in 2022. But needless to say, it's still been a great investment. Chainlink has moved up 170% since we first recommended it on this channel. Reserve Rights is next. That's moved up an impressive 248%. Makes up 1.2% of my portfolio. Tfuel's probably the biggest earner I've had, and I've done other videos to everyone before, so go back and have a look at the investment video on what Tfuel is and how I use it to actually buy free NFTs. And I'll be doing a video later on the most recent Theta drop that happened last night for that, but I'll explain how that works in the video that will happen next week. Tfuel is up an impressive 3,246%. It made up less than 1% of my portfolio when I first bought into it. It actually took me quite a while to get my head around what Tfuel was, how that relates to Theta. I just couldn't get my head around the ecosystem. It took a while. So I adopted Tfuel very late. In fact, I think it was 6 months after I first bought Theta, but it has risen incredibly well. So 3,246% return. It currently makes up 10% of the portfolio. Theta is the next one. Probably should have started with Theta, but it doesn't matter. Theta is up 645% and makes up 21% of my total portfolio. Stellar is the next one, Stellar Lumen. That's up 102% and makes up just under 2% of the portfolio. We recommended people get into Stellar back in October 2020. So again, not a bad return for something that's just over 12 months old as far as our recommendation goes. Now Ripple's the next one. Ripple's up 207% and makes up 8.6% of the portfolio. Now we've recommended people buy in this channel Ripple a number of times. Every time there's a dip, I still think it's good value for money. I do believe they've got a stronger case to win against the SEC, but everyone has varying opinions on that, and really it's, again, just my investment advice and my investment opinion, sorry, not investment advice. So Ripple, 207%. I think that is going to absolutely skyrocket in 2022. What do we got next here? Silica. Held Silica for a while. We've bought it a number of times. The first time we recommended it to the group was very early April of 2020. It's up 570% and makes up 2.8% of my portfolio. Dent Coins next. It's up 27%, so quite small when you look at the other ones that have moved up quite dramatically, and they're in the hundreds of percentage return. Dent is only at 27%. I don't think it's over for Dent though yet. I think they've got a good user case. It just needs to be adopted more. We'll see what 2022 brings. Dent is just slightly under 1% of my portfolio. VeChain Thor, we recommended that in March this year. That's up 47%. We've got Polygon. Polygon we recommended in May this year. That's already up 100% and makes up currently 1.1% of my portfolio. Look, Shiba Inu I think has still got a good user case. 2022 will be interesting for Shiba Inu as they develop their new NFT platform, which I think is going to be launched in Q1 next year. 28% return, not too bad. It has skyrocketed and come all the way back down. For me at the moment, the Shiba Inu is definitely still a player in the market and something worth hanging on to. Solana. Now Solana we didn't recommend until we were late into Solana compared to other people out there in the cryptoverse. I was a little bit hesitant to get into Solana, but back in July this year, it was a recommended to this channel, to people who watch it. Again, it's my financial opinion, not financial advice, and we got into that back in July. Now, since then, Solana has moved up 889%. So we're just coming up to 6 months, so it's a really decent return for that period of time. Veracity is next. That's up 76%. Again, it was recommended at the same time as Solana. Most of these other ones there we have recommended in July. Veracity 76%. IOTA we didn't recommend until November. That's already up 15%. Decentraland was the same. We recommended that in November. In fact, we recommended a lot of metaverse coins in around about the October-November mark. So IOTA was one, Decentraland was another. That's moved up 124% since we first recommended that. Wax was the next one. Now that's only moved up 3%, but still 3% in about 4 weeks is still a really good return on your money. Maybe not as good as other crypto coins out there at the moment, but I think Wax will still be adopted a lot more in 2022, which is why I'd hold it. Sandbox was next. Again, that was recommended in November this year. That's already up 93%. Engine was recommended in November. That's already up 38%. And Oasis, which is the Rose coin, is up 37% since we recommended that back in November this year. So that's really what the portfolio looks like at the moment. I'm aware that as people join this YouTube channel, they'll be copying exactly what I've said I've been doing in my portfolio. Please don't do that. As I said, the portfolio moves at its own rhythm. So what is 3% of my portfolio today could very well be 30% of my portfolio tomorrow. If the market heads in the right direction, there'll be other ones that will come down through that period of time. So it's almost pointless trying to follow exactly what I do. I would recommend though to people, there are people who will be on this channel who may have just recently got into the market at the recent high and basically they've seen their investment slip away from them. They'll be in a negative territory at the moment. Again, my strong suggestion, if you watch my other videos, time in the market is really important. It's very important to hold through this and try and get through any challenges you might have with the market. If you can force yourself not to look at the market, that's always a good thing to do. Come back to it in a month's time and just have a look and see what's going on then. Ultimately though, it always comes back up. Just like ultimately, it will always drop again sometime in the future. So that's part and parcel of investing in coins. That's the portfolio review for today and for December 2021. I hope you all have a fantastic Christmas. I'm going to put together another video shortly with some news articles that I want to talk about. I'm also going to talk about the most recent Theta drop, which happened last night, probably about 3 AM Australian Standard Time. So I was part of that, which is great. and I was able to get and snag a Cyberpunk NFT, which I haven't opened yet, but we'll do that live collectively so you can all see what that's about. Until the next video, take care of each other. See ya.